Hello guys, we're comparing both games, Sega Rally and Sega Rally 2. They both designed by Tetsuya Mizuguchi, which he worked with the Sega departments like AM5 and AM Annex and United Game Artists and others. Um, Sega Rally Championship was released in 1994 in the arcades, ported to the Sega Saturn in 1995 by AM3. The port was handled by AM3, not AM5. And also was following. It was also released in PC too, and games also released also on some platforms that's never been uh, really based off the arcade version. You got the Game Boy Advance version, and plus you got the N-Gage version from Nokia. Nokia also the N-Gage does big games too, like it does Virtual Cop too in the Sonic game, which is still the worst console. Uh, Normally this game is short, yeah it is, but you got like two different cars. You got the Lancia Delta HF Integrale, and you got the Toyota Celica GT4. They both participate in WRC, and you also got the Lancia Stratos HF or High Fidelity. That's for short, and it's actually it's only available on the home ports, the Lancia Stratos. So the Sega Saturn version is pretty good, but almost identical to the arcade. But the only difference is that the version, the Sega Saturn version graphics are a little bit different than the Sega Model Two version of the game itself. But it's still a good, decent port. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's okay. You know, but you got three tracks. You got desert, forest, and mountain, and also you got a bonus track called Lakeside, which if you won or if you make it into first place in mountain, you get to participate and go to the extra stage called the Lakeside. It's still kind of hard. The arcade version is really hard. So so that's it for number one. Number two, Sega Rally 2 was released in 1998 in the arcades, running on the Sega Model 2 Step 2.0. And the Model 3 uh, version actually is really great. A great sequel to the original game. But you got six cars and you got two hidden cars from the original Sega Rally, and you also got four tracks. You got desert, you got mountain, Riviera, plus you got snowy. You got four tracks you get to compete in this game. The graphics are very superior. It's really great. I'm not saying this game's better, but they both really great. I'm not saying this one's better than the other one. But this version is a great sequel. It's also released on the Sega Dreamcast on the following year in PC versions. Now let me tell you about the Sega Dreamcast version. The Sega Dreamcast, the Sega Dreamcast version, on the other hand, it's a rush port of the arcade. You can tell the graphics are not quite finished like as it is in the arcade. And plus, the frame rate is very inconsistent, which is not very successful as its predecessor. Which the reason why it has very inconsistent frame rate is probably because the Dreamcast. It's probably because the power of the Dreamcast, or is it the developers are rushed and they're not taking their time? Same thing as Daytona USA on the Sega Saturn. You know, it's a rush port, and they had a lot of pop-up and clipping issues, and plus the frame rate is kind of lower. It feels like the game's going to be unplayable soon. But I have a feeling about that. But on a Sega Dreamcast port, it's okay. But they could have done a lot better with this conversion. The conversion was not handled by AM Annex. It was converted to AM Annex didn't do the Dreamcast version. I don't know who converted this game. Well, Sega. That's all I know. But I don't know. But I know AM3 convert Sega Rally Championship for the Sega Saturn and PC versions. I don't know about the Sega Dreamcast version. But who I don't know, but I think it's unnecessarily. but it's still a great game. I like the arcade version. The arcade version is really lighter than the Sega Dreamcast PC versions of the game itself. But the Dreamcast version also is the worst thing about the Sega Dreamcast is the controls. Normally, when you play the original Dreamcast controller, the game has some terrible like saying the when you play the game, the controls are terrible. Like when you turn, the steering is really terrible on the Sega Dreamcast controller. Because that's why some people recommend the rally wheel instead. Because it's I'm not saying it or not as well. It's not really that bad as Daytona USA on a Sega Dreamcast. The controls are way sensitive for a driving game. For gamers who say, "Oh, just get the rally wheel because that's way better," I heard, and you can calibrate it really great than the Sega Dreamcast controller. The Sega Dreamcast controller cannot do calibration really great than the rally wheel, but and it's really hard. The Sega Dreamcast version is really hard, really harder than the arcade version to me. Because the arcade version looks easy to me, but when you play the Sega Dreamcast, it's like hard. Even when you do the 10-year championship, it is so hard. I couldn't be able to win. But this is my this is my comparison between the first Sega Rally Championship and the second game of Sega Rally 2. So hopefully I would make some more videos of comparison between the first and second games of one of the sequels. So thank you for watching.